Yo guys, welcome to the last lap. Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. Not chaotic now, but most one-sided team pairing. Ooh. Who's going to violate their teammate?
Who's going to absolutely muller?
On track.
Max Verstappen.
Of course.
On track.
Max Verstappen is going to violate his teammate, as he has been doing. Going to violate his teammates. Sadly for the Mexican Minister of Defence, he just hasn't got pace enough, consistently enough around 26 tracks, has he?
Yeah.
For Max Verstappen, he just doesn't do it. Okay, so around the front, the rear limited tracks, even Singapore and Monaco, that favours Checo, so he might experience some success around there. But for the rest of them, Max Verstappen has just got him under manners. He'll violate him again. And let's not forget the help of the team. The team know which side their bread is buttered as far as Max and Checo. And so they're just going to develop the car for Max. They're going to give him every decision. He's not even going to give up 6th place at Brazil even.
I was fuming at that.
Mate. 6th place, Max. 6th.
That was clearly a statement.
Yeah.
That was clearly a statement to the team.
Tommo, why do you think he did? Was it Monaco? Is that true? Not facts, conjecture, speculation.
Look,
it's alleged.
I think there's a lot that goes. What I think is interesting about Red Bull is there's clearly somewhat of a dynamic where you've got Red Bull Racing, which is obviously Christian Horner's top dog there, but then you've got Red Bull as the company that supports Max, and obviously that goes through Helmut, and obviously you've got, Max has got his team, just like Charles has got his team, just like Carlos has got his team. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know how much of that is to do with a degree of... I don't think that can all be like with Mercedes, where it's just Toto Wolff and there's no different agendas.
Stakeholders.
I mean, I'm sure like Lewis has got his team, I guess, but it feels like, and George the same, but I don't know, it just feels a lot more cohesive, whereas you've got this clear figure of you've got Helmut and you've got Christian, who are like two kind of separate figures working for the same team, but also slightly have their own. It's like Helmut leaked the Ricciardo news, and then Christian was like, "Oh yeah, Helmut's just. I guess, yeah, Daniel Ricciardo is going to be our third driver." It's like, well, that wasn't meant to be announced, but yeah. So I can only think that it's maybe related to some kind of dynamic there, but I mean, your guess is as good as mine, to be honest, mate.
To the original question, though, yes, it's going to be Red Bull. I can't think of another lineup, really, where someone's getting... and it's no disrespect to Sergio at all, but I think, Max knows how to extract the most out of that car more. Max is just an unreal driver. He's just come off the back of winning 15 races. I know there will be a bit more competition next season, or hopefully, from Ferrari and Mercedes, but I don't think that's going to stop him beating Sergio as consistently as he did last year. I don't see any difference or anything that's going to change that.
The only other pairing that comes to mind that I think, because I guess when we reflect on this, we'll look at like the percentage difference, I guess, or something.
Maybe Williams.
No, I'm thinking Aston Martin, actually. Alonso, Stroll.
Fernie, good shout, stealthy.
Just because he drives everything he gets into quick. And Stroll has improved, but he's still shown, like, in terms of his decision making, it can be very, very chaotic at times, and I think that's going to lose him points.
I know Fernando's a different beast at the moment, but Stroll did do an okay job against
better.
Seb.
He did.
He's been getting better, right?
Yeah.
You make a good point.
Against Seb, if he'd been whitewashed against Seb, I'd be like, yeah, fair fucks. But
Stroll threw away points
he did,
on numerous occasions, which they finished level with Alfa Romeo in the constructors.
Chaos.
Exactly the same number of points. One more point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cost them a lot of money.
I've got another stealthy pick, mate, after all that we said. Ferrari, potentially. Hear me out.
What Leclerc signed.
So, I've heard it often.
Carlos over.
So, look, I've heard it espoused fairly often that the driver to take Scuderia Ferrari forward is a hybrid of both Charles Leclerc's pace and Carlos Sainz's assertiveness and strategic decision-making.
Yep.
Right. If you can take the latter and give that to Charles Leclerc with a bit of help from Frédéric Vasseur, Charles Leclerc will obliterate Carlos Sainz, in my humble opinion. Big if, big if. But if you can get that strategic, just be a bit more assertive, right? How is Charles Leclerc going out in Brazil on Inters? surely there should be something
Yeah.
in his mind saying, listen,
Yeah.
common sense check, this might not be the right decision, chaps. What's Carlos going out on? Is he going out on wets? All right, then why don't you just put the wets on? So just a bit more common sense and assertiveness. If Charles can get that, cancel out the unforced errors, I think he'll...
The best drivers know when to make the call themselves and when to not listen to themselves and to listen to the team, because sometimes the team has more information. And I always talk about this with Russia, with Lando, is that the team needed to tell Lando what to do in that instance, because you cannot expect a track as big as Sochi for Lando to know what the weather's like on the other side.
More rain is coming.
You have to listen.
Yeah, you have to lead the
And the team lent too much on Lando in that instance, and I think it's that dynamic is really important. I think that's why, you know, I'm trying to think of a driver that comes to mind that's done that really well.
Carlos, Monaco last year.
Carlos
I'm not coming in. I'm not doing 2 stops.
Yeah.
I'm doing 1, and I'm not doing inters. I'm switching straight onto drives. Carlos does it brilliantly.
Yeah.
It's sad that you can't mix and match the best traits on those two, but hopefully Shah will nail that in the upcoming season.
So what are we saying? Verstappen, Perez? Perez?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Alonso, Stroll. We'll see.
Controversy.
But look, I hope Lance is still very young. He's very experienced in F1. Don't get me wrong, but he's still a little baby. Okay, we're going to have a couple of most improved sections here. Maybe we'll clump these together.
Right.
So most improved constructor, most improved driver.
Ooh, mate.
So I think constructor-wise, I have to say Aston Martin, because I think the trajectory towards the end of the season, I think they're challenging now for best of the rest. If you look at their pace in the second half of the year.
In comparison to where they were at the first
They got-
and that car was a bathtub at the start.
Yeah. and their new facility is coming. It's not going to be ready in January. It's going to be ready in like July, I think. But they've got, Dan Fallows is like well on board now.
Fernando in the team as well.
Yeah, Fernando in the team. They've got a lot of ex-Red Bull personnel who are obviously, I guess, starting to find their feet somewhat. I think Aston Martin, they finished P7 in the constructors. I think they'll be right up there. If any, maybe even it depends if Ocon and Gasly start colliding too much, and I don't know. I think Aston Martin are going to be a big jump up.
That's a
my
big
pick.
shout, mate. With Alonso at the helm, you would expect there to be a material
improvement.
upside.
Yeah.
Alonso is just ridiculous. But I feel like we've answered this question already, Tommo. How can Ferrari be any worse than they were last year? They have to be. If they just behave themselves and tick the most obvious boxes, how can they not be the most improved
serious
team?
improvement. Yeah.
Well, listen, the Tifosi been asking this question for what? 15 years. If they just behave themselves, but they can't seem to find a way to do it. What about any of the lower teams, like a Williams, like a Haas, like a Alpha Tauri? Alpha Tauri is a good shout.
I think Alpha Tauri is a good shout, but you kind of also don't know what you're going to get with their driver lineup.
Yeah, I think the car will be better, but I don't know.
I think the car has to be better. Like there was such a big drop off between 2021 and 2022. But the biggest question mark for me of a driver lineup this year is Alpha Tauri, because I don't know whether we're going to get like a Yuki Tsunoda that performs as if it's his third season, or whether Yuki Tsunoda's reached his ceiling.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to get out of Nick De Vries as well. Technically a very solid driver.
That could be quite chaotic.
It could be, yeah. But
just a tad.
Both trying to assert their authority.
yeah,
Just a tad. Chaps, McLaren, stealthy pick as well.
Yeah.
I know they've lost Andreas, but with 2 drivers that
hopefully
can
be relatively
bang 2 even-ish drivers, or at least, let me say this, I feel like Piastri can take the team on more than Danny Rick was doing, right? So again, if we're talking about material upsides as versus last year, then that I think they can improve a lot because of that.
Daniel said this, didn't he? He was like, that quote, ignorance is bliss. And Piastri's coming in very ignorant, not in a bad way, but like he's not carrying it like years of F1 knowledge that Daniel Ricciardo was. He can jump into this car and more instinctively, hopefully, get on top
his
of it.
entrance point rather than
exactly.
Daniel having driven loads of
brand
amazing
new set of
cars.
eyes in that sense. Absolutely.
So what are you going for in terms
I'm
of
saying Aston Martin, most improved.
Ferrari. Sorry, lads.
Ferrari.
Slam
I'm
dunk.
saying Mercedes, because off the back of being just kind of like in that middle bit, that middle sort of in between the top 2 teams and kind of just the rest,
Yeah.
they're actually competing for a championship next season. And that has
Mate,
to be a
if they
big
can
improvement.
provide the chaps with a decent set of wheels, that is. So it's a big if again,
Yeah,
mate.
it's a big if. It's
Zero
all if,
pod
buts, and
again.
maybes.
That's what they're going for. Bloody
It's if
Nora.
buts and maybes. We're not doing absolutes.
What about most improved driver?
Oof.
Because there's a big year for a lot of drivers. Big year for Yuki.
Big year for Yuki. Big year for
Big year for
just Yuki. To be honest, no. Big year for Ocon, I guess, in terms of just like
Big year for
whether he can
Checo maybe
Gasly.
as well, I think.
Checo, yeah.
big year for Ocon. Definitely.
Carlos.
But who maybe let themselves down maybe in 2022 or just will continue to improve there? Because I think Gasly is a shout as well because he had a poor 22.
Yeah.
It's a good shout. I think there's
Yeah.
an elephant in the room, chaps, though. Sir Lewis Hamilton. Mate, he doesn't often have consecutive seasons that are where he's underperformed in inverted commas.
Do you think he
yeah.
underperformed in 22?
Bloody Nora, Tommo. It's a good question. If all right, 7-time champion, right? That's what we're benchmarking against. If you go back and watch 2007, this chap was. I still think he's the greatest that I've ever seen. He can steer, chaps. So if that's the benchmark, if that is the benchmark, then you've got to say that he underperformed. Lewis Hamilton at his highest peaks,
Yes.
underperformed marginally.
Yeah, I'd
agree with that.
Absolutely. So
Because his level is so high.
Mate.
Yeah.
The expectations are so high.
If other people had that season in that car, you'd be like,
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
bang.
If
He
Pierre
doesn't-
Gasly has a season like that, it's
Yeah,
the
you're
best.
like, oh yeah, fair play, mate. He's
best
smashing
thing
it,
ever.
but-
generally, he doesn't make mistakes. And we saw loads. Okay, so the Magnussen coming together, that was Magnussen. The Alonso incident, there were a couple, right, of balls dropped. And I just think, I don't expect to see, so not 2 back-to-back. He doesn't miss very often. He's going to come with that fire next season. So most improved for me in that sense. Sir Lewis Hamilton, absolutely, mate.
Most improved is a tough one, actually, for this. Because there's a few drivers who underperformed last season, but I'm kind of expecting them to underperform again this season. I'm not expecting Yuki to just come out of the traps and go boom, like absolutely unbelievable season. Even though I would love that, I love Yuki.
He's a guy.
Guan Yu Zhou was just performed well anyway last season. So to take like a really massive step again would be kind of crazy. I think Pierre is a shout, Lewis is a shout.
I'm
Actually, genuinely, I'm not sure.
I'm thinking Gasly.
Yeah.
Look, I get the car wasn't great. The AlphaTauri wasn't anywhere near as competitive of a package as it was in 2021, and he was unreal in 21. But I just think that also Yuki closed that gap up massively to Pierre in terms of pace. Anyway, like if you look at the average race pace, average quali pace, there was very little in it. It was like 13.9 in head-to-head to Gasly. So I think as much as Yuki took a step forward, I think Pierre did take a bit of a step back, and maybe that was part of it in being a bit mentally checked out, especially when the Alpine, door was knocked. I would say Gasly.
You do like a Pierre, don't you?
I do.
Tommy.
I-
You're a big Pierre guy.
I rate him through and through.
I'm not sure I'm there with you, Tommy. I'm not seeing it. He's got potential.
Again, most improved.
A bang. It's
the delta between
Based
where they
on
were in
last
22
season,
versus 23.
Yeah, I don't think there's a crazy amount of drivers.
That's a good shout.
If you got rid of 22 and just
Yeah.
looked at 21, Gasly was unreal, and I think he'd struggle to hit those levels at a new team as well. But I think given he's going to a new team and given that the caveat around that, I think Gasly most improved.
And a stealthy shout, worthy mention, if you're talking in that sense, the delta between last year and this in points terms. Fernando Alonso, holy smokes, mate, he's going to smash it.
Doesn't start breaking now that he's there.
Oh, yeah, can you imagine his car starts breaking?
I would
Mate, he's
probably
going to
cry.
wreck shop, destroy.
That would be his luck, wouldn't it?